Hi guys, welcome back to Nyx Reads. Thank you so much for watching. Today we have a book haul, and more specifically a book outlet and library sale book haul. So please give this video a thumbs up to let me know that you like book hauls, and consider subscribing to this channel if you love bookish content like I do. And you might be wondering, why is it that you have another book haul if you're actively trying to read all of the unread books on your shelves? Well, that is just the fate of anybody who loves reading and also collecting books. I'm gonna start with the books that I got from two library sales that I went to. So these books I acquired for, it was between $1 and $3. The first one is I Am Malala by Malala Yousafzai. The tagline is, "The girl who stood up for education and was shot by the Taliban." I'm sure that you've heard of Malala before, and this is my first book by her. I'm 100% going to put this on my nonfiction November TBR. She's an incredible activist, and I've seen a lot of interviews with her before, but I've never read any of her work, so this is something that I'm really looking forward to. And I found a modern classic, if you will. It's The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan. It's this very charming and used looking book. I don't know, there was just something about the state of this copy that I also just really liked, and there's even a name in here. This belonged to Barbara before, and I see here on the back it says it's vignettes alternating back and forth between the lives of 4 Chinese women in pre-1949 China and the lives of their American-born daughters in California. I know that a lot of people love this, so I'm guessing that this is gonna be a 4 stars and up read. I also got I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. This was kind of an impulse buy because I've heard of this title before. The blurb in the front says, "This book has one of the most charismatic narrators I've ever met," which is big praise. I was a bit confused because judging by the cover, I thought this was written in the early 2000s, but it's not. When I got home and looked it up, I saw that it was written in, what was it again, 1948? Yeah. So this must be some kind of re-release because I thought this is going to be about a brooding teenager in 2005 or something. It says, "This is a journal of Cassandra Martman, an extraordinary account of life with her equally extraordinary family." I guess they live in a castle. You know what? I'm going to go into this book pretty blindly. I'm honestly not sure if I'm going to like this or not. It was an impulse buy. Next I have Man by Thúy. This is from a local Montreal author. As you can see, I got it for literally $1, and this is a nice hardcover. Our main character is a chef who grew up with 3 mothers. The one who gives birth to her in wartime, the nun who plucks her from a vegetable garden, and her beloved Maame, who becomes a spy to survive. And Maame finds a husband for Man, and this is how she, I think, comes to Montreal, because he's a Vietnamese restaurateur from the city. Once again, I've only heard amazing things about this. It kind of gives me the same vibes as the Joy Luck Club in a way, because they're both, I think, immigrant stories with a lot of profound insights on what their lives look like before and after a move. Besides some Canadian book tours, I don't think I've heard anybody on BookTube talk about this before, so if you have not, then I hope I spiked your interest by showing this. And lastly, from the library sale, this was the most expensive book that I got. It's Gordon Ramsay's Maze. So this book definitely has seen some better days, but I just picked it up on a whim because I was looking through this, and the recipes in here are all very fine dining, dainty dishes like that or that. So something that you would expect in a very fancy, expensive restaurant to eat. And I thought it would be a fun experiment to try recreating some of these dishes and kind of see if I can create some kind of higher dining experience at home. Maze is the name of one of the restaurant chains that Gordon Ramsay owns. They have, or had, I honestly don't know if they're still open, locations in London, New York City, and Prague. So I don't know if this is exactly the food that they serve, but for sure it looks like something that you would pay a lot of money for. Next I have a stack of books that I got from Book Outlet, where I probably get 80% or more of my books. It's like an overstock type of site. I'm gonna leave a refer a friend link in the description box below, which gives you $5 off, and I get $5 off if you use it. You don't have to, but I figured why not try, since I spent a lot of money on that site. If you spend over $25, you get $5 off. The first book is another cookbook, and this is the reason why I did issue that order in the first place. It's What's for Dessert by Clare Saffitz. This is really heavy. So this usually retails for $50 Canadian. And by some miracle, I found it on a book outlet for $18, and it's honestly, to me, except for the little dot that marks like overstock books, this is like new, so I don't know why Book Outlet had it. This is Claire's second baking book, and I absolutely love the first one. I made so many recipes from there, and I've already made, I think, 2 or 3 recipes from here. If you want a new cookbook for baking, specifically for desserts, I 100% recommend this one. And dessert person. Next, I have not one, but 2 gothic horror novels. The first one being House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. Our main character is Marion, who grows up and lives in slums where all she knows is wants and deprivation. To escape that, she applies to become a so-called blood maiden to wealthy nobles that live in absolute luxury up north, that drink the bloods from the people who work for them. It sounds to me like she's gonna be in over her head, and this, I think, makes a great horror setting. The next gothic tale is from one of my now favorite authors that I discovered about a year or 2 ago, from Catriona, and I am now working through her backlist. This is Little Eve. I think this was her second novel. This takes place on an island in Scotland where people are waiting for the Adder, whatever that is, to come and give its powers to somebody. And our main character is striving to be the one to inherit all of these powers. My experience with this author is that it's best to know next to nothing going in. There's probably gonna be a gazillion twists and turns in this book, just horrifying characters that do horrible things. So I honestly can't wait to read this. At this point, I enjoyed all of the books that I've read from this author immensely, and she somehow manages to reinvent the horror genre every time I pick up a book from her. That's why I don't know what to expect from this at all, but in a positive way. Next, I have a so-called debut that everybody's talking about. It's Maame by Jessica George. I've seen this book go around. I've seen a few booktubers thinking that this might go on the Women's Prize for Fiction long list, which I don't think it happened, but one of my viewers specifically recommended this to me in one of my monthly wrap-ups because I was talking about me having a weird obsession with this sad woman or sad girl trope who kind of lives an isolated life and then they break out of their shell and turn around their life for the better. If I find the person who recommended this to me, I'm gonna link it in the description down below. And they were saying that they think I'm gonna love this one because of that trope that I enjoy so much. So this is about Maddie, who lives in London. Her mom spends a lot of time in Ghana, so she's basically the sole caretaker for her father who has Parkinson's. She dreads her job. She's always the only Black person in every meeting. There's a chance for her life to turn around when her mom comes back and she can leave the family home to pursue her own dreams. This is described as smart, funny, and deeply affecting, so I have a really good feeling about this. I also got a book that I already read. It's Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. The first time around, I got this as an ebook from the library, but I decided to get my own copy for a really good deal because I loved it so much. I talked about this book in my last monthly wrap-up in a bit more detail, so I'm gonna link that video for you if you want to hear more and why I love this so much. The short version of the summary is that Jen, who lives in the UK with her husband, with her teenage son, on Halloween evening looks out of the window as she's waiting for her son to come home. She witnesses her normal son, who seems to live a normal life, stab a man. She doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know what's going on, so he goes to jail and everything. But the next morning she wakes up and it's the day before. And that keeps happening. She keeps traveling back in time, not knowing why this is happening to her or what the end goal of this time travel is. So that is something she has to figure out on her own, and also figure out why her son stabs this man that she doesn't even know. This was a time travel book done really well. I did not see the ending coming or the twists and turns in between. So this is highly enjoyable, and for once a Reese's Book Club pick in the mystery thriller category that I enjoyed. Then I have the sequel to Magpie Murders, which is Moonflower Murders by Anthony Horowitz. I didn't realize how chunky this book is, but I don't mind at all because the first one, Magpie Murders, which again I talked about in my last wrap-up, so you can watch that to hear more details. It's a whodunit within a whodunit, true mystery. I immensely enjoyed that one so much, which is why I had to pick up the second book right away. I can't wait to get back into it. This is picking up where the first book ended, so I'm not going to spoil anything. In short, the first book is about editor Susan Ryland, who's reading through the newest manuscript of murder mystery writer Alan Conway. So that is actually a big part of the story. You're reading about that mystery set in the past in a sleepy English village, very Agatha Christie. So that is a mystery you need to solve. But then you jump back to Susan's present, where another murder happens, and somehow that is linked to whatever happened in the manuscript. If you love murder mystery and true whodunits, then I think Magpie Murders and hopefully also Moonflower Murders is something you need to pick up. I have another sequel, this time the third book, and I think also the final book in the series. It's Cytonic by Sanderson. I started the Skyward series I think 2 years ago, so it's really time for me to wrap this up. I was not so lucky with some of his other books like Mistborn, that is so popular, but that was just okay for me. Whereas this YA sci-fi story, for some reason, I really got into. So I really hope that this is gonna be a good end, question mark, to the series. The last two books I intentionally got to read this fall season. So the first one is Agatha Christie's Halloween Party. I have a cool Agatha Christie project coming up soon, so if you want to hear more about my reads from this author, then make sure to subscribe. I didn't mean to buy more Christies, but then I randomly found this trailer on YouTube for a movie called A Haunting in Venice, which is the new Hercule Poirot movie, which I didn't hear or see anything about. Maybe it has to do something with the strike of people not promoting movies. I'm not sure. This is technically not a promotion. I'm just mentioning it to you. That is why I then picked up this book, because I want to read the book before I watch the movie. Either way, this sounds like the perfect Halloween read. Lastly, I got this upon a recommendation by Mara from Books Like Whoa. I cannot remember what she said to make me put this on my TBR, but I saw it was available on Book Outlet for very little money, and it's, I think, a great fall read. It's Go Hex Yourself by Jessica Clare. I know, quite unusual for me to read a romance book, but if you've been watching my wrap-ups, you see that I'm trying more and more here and there. So this is about Reggie Johnson, who answers a job ad in the paper, but she doesn't realize that she's applying to become a familiar, so like, how do you even call it, like an assistant to an actual witch. She goes into that job and it looks like she starts to butt head with Ben Magnus, which I guess is this guy here, who is a warlock. And I think this is kind of not quite enemies to lovers, but maybe colleagues who don't get along to lovers type of story. I honestly just thought it sounded fun. I almost forgot, but I have one more book that I have to show you guys. I got it at a used bookstore here, and it's Invisible Women by Caroline Criado Perez. This was one of my favorite books that I read, I think, last year. It made it onto my end of year favorite books, one of my favorite nonfictions that I've ever read. It's essentially about data where our entire world is built around a male standard, which is to a great disadvantage and sometimes even lethal to anybody who's not male. One of the main takeaways of this book is that sometimes being gender neutral does not mean you're being gender equal. This goes into so many different areas like healthcare, public policy, education, urban planning. In short, we're looking at some of the issues that arise when the male is treated as the default human being. I had to have a copy for myself. I'm sure that at some point I'm gonna reread this, or just honestly for rereading passages, because there were some pretty interesting facts and stats in here. That was all of the books. If you want to let me know that you're still watching, why don't you leave me a black cat emoji? Don't forget to let me know if you've read any of these books and which one do you think I should prioritize. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy watching book hauls, and subscribe if you love bookish content like I do. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.